Okay, it's 7:04. This is the Berlin Select Board's July 24th meeting. 24th.
Okay.
Open session public meetings are subject to being videotaped. Your image and voice may be recorded. And if it's okay with Peg and Scott, I was going to move the appointment of Tim Andre up to the beginning. All right. Then we will do that. And I'm going to kind of hand it over to Eric.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, you should come to the front of the room. We're trying to enforce that so that you could be on the.
So you have to be on cable.
Yeah.
So Tim Andre will serve as a patrol sergeant and assist with the various administrative duties, use of force instruction, and department accreditation process. He'll help us with that as well. He was raised in Worcester, in Auburn, currently lives in Berlin. He enlisted in the Massachusetts Army National Guard in 1999, became a non-commissioned officer in April 2002, attended primary leadership development course, the basic non-commissioned officer course, and selected as honor graduate for both advanced leader course and senior leader course. He retired from the Army as a sergeant first class in August of 2019, having served for 20 years, deployed overseas 4 times to Afghanistan, Iraq, and Cuba. His last assignment was operations sergeant for the 772nd Military Police Company in Taunton. His undergraduate education is in criminal justice with a concentration in organizational leadership and law enforcement. Will be complete this August, magna cum laude. Following Army basic training, police school, he served as a correctional deputy sheriff for Worcester County from 2001 to 2015. While there, he served as a member of the Distinguished Honor Guard, the Tactical Response Team, Corrections Emergency Response Team, and Assistant Team Leader for the Special Operations Group. In January 2015, Tim attended the first in the nation all-military police academy hosted by the Worcester Police Department, where he held his squad leader position throughout and graduated second in his class. In December 2015, Tim began his employment with the town of Berlin. Since that time, he's attained 10 NPC instructor certifications and serves as the administrator for multiple software platforms as a member of the Central Mass Law Enforcement Council, also known as SEMLEC. Tim's personal decorations include the Bronze Star Service Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, Joint Service Commendation Medal, 3 Army Commendation Medals, 6 Achievement Medals, the Combat Action Badge, and 13 other military awards and decorations. Since starting with the Berlin Police Department, he also has been awarded the FBI LEADA Law Enforcement Executive Development Association Trilogy Award and Leaders Helping Leaders Network Significant Leader Award. Tim is married to Elena of Hudson, and they reside in Berlin, and they raised their 2 children, Addison and Elise, and he's going to be pinned Elena.
And I don't want to be up
Come on up
Yeah,
here.
Should we just get rid of the
Yep,
formal parts?
get rid of the formality.
I will make the motion to appoint Timothy Andre to police sergeant.
I will second it 100%.
Great.
Great. Got a motion and a second. And we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Yay. Yay. Yes. Feel free to take pictures.
Yeah, feel free to
get out of the
get
way.
that close up and like out of the way.
Well, you guys are right in it.
Oh, boy.
Can you crop? And with the kids?
This is great.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Go for it.
This
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, hang on.
We're all fine.
Go ahead.
You can do more out back too. It's okay.
See, my parents are a Berlin Hudson couple.
Oh.
They met at Berlin Hudson High School.
Mixed.
Mixed, yeah, mixed.
Right.
Of course, they graduated and left town.
Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Come right over. Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Look at that shiny badge.
I know, shiny badge.
Oh, shiny
It's always-
badge. Yay!
It's always very heartwarming when we can promote one of our own
Oh,
Yes.
I want to
positions.
cry.
It's a great thing.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. It's gonna be on the Facebook page in like 30 seconds, so.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Like
Thank
probably
you.
now.
It's so wonderful. Ah. There it
Abby,
is.
did you get all that? Did you get all that? Okay. All right. Bye, Kevin. Bye, Goody.
Bye, have a good night.
Bye-bye.
They all came just to make sure we did the right thing, right? They were all worried about the outcome of
Aw, that warms my
So
heart.
this is how you clear a room.
that.
How do you say no?
Right.
All right, let's move on to the approval of minutes for July 10th.
I am so moved.
And
Okay.
seconded.
Okay, I didn't have anything either, so we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. General public comment?
No.
Wow.
Jump into the
All right,
public hearing.
then we'll move into the public hearing, the soil importation application for 231 Sawyer Hill Road. I'm told we need to open the hearing.
Yep.
Yes?
Yeah, because officially that's a
Can-
slightly different body.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
My name's Michelle Bisconi.
Okay, it's nice to meet you.
97 Sawyer Hill Road, Berlin,
Mhm.
and it's my application. But when I applied, I thought I was going to have to bring in soil. But since then, we have found that we can take all the soil we need, or we believe we need, will come from our property. We're taking it from the backside and bringing it over and using it for fill.
Okay. And
So, we have hills that,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
on my property, that we're just taking my property,
And
soil,
moving it.
and moving it.
And I'm under the understanding that we do need to open the meeting.
Right. we'll
Still?
open the meeting and-
Yep.
right,
Yeah,
and might
we will
declare
have
the-
to open the meeting.
And then
um,
declare the application not necessary.
And
yes.
because the application is such for the importation, it does have to be first approved by conservation. And I believe they are meeting on the 16th to discuss it. And then you would be able to then vote after that. So we're asking if we can open it and then continue it. Don't close it, just continue it on to the August
28th?
Right.
8th meeting
Okay,
at 7 o'clock.
yes.
I'm sorry, open the meeting, and then I'll have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll open the hearing for the soil importation application of 231 Sawyer Hill Road. And we will be continuing it to August 28th at,
August, yeah.
7 o'clock.
So
7
Mary
o'clock.
was nicely
Okay.
written out to open it.
at 7 p.m. I guessed right. And we heard from yourself, Michelle.
Okay.
Anyone in the audience want to be heard on this? Just please state your name and address.
And so my question is, if they're just moving soil from one part of their property to another, I'm sure Conservation Commission probably still has some interest in some of those things, but does that require the Earthworks Committee, because if they're not importing soil, they don't necessarily need an import
Correct,
permit?
correct. As far as the earth, I
Right,
believe.
as far as the earthworks go,
Right,
right?
earthworks would not
Right.
have anything to say about that.
Right. And so by moving the soil around your property, you at least remove one of the boards that might have some questions or say. And some of my questions were like, how long and how many trucks? But, you know, if you're moving it from one part of your property to another, there's almost no trucks that are then going up and down Sawyer Hill Road.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to continue this hearing until Monday, August 28th at 7 p.m. to allow Conservation Commission time to review this project and provide us feedback?
So moved.
And seconded.
Okay, then we'll take a roll, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Sure.
Okay.
You're good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I look forward.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
I drive by that property all the time.
Just find that email and respond to it, please.
I will.
Yep, yep.
No problem.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
General department update and.
Although the chief is still in the hallway.
Yeah, we'll wait till he's available.
I thought we disbanded Earthworks, the Earthworks board.
We did, but it still
That's
has to
why
be.
you
We're the
have
soil-
to-
Yes.
Wouldn't it be approved by planning? Planning?
No, it would be, with Weston and Sampson,
Okay.
taking a look at it.
And they have, it's under review at this time. And they did come back with some questions and conditions on it if it should go forward. But
Even with these
Kristen-
conditions?
But Kristen would have to take a look at that too,
Recording stopped.
before it
Okay,
came to you.
Okay.
all right.
But she
Right.
can withdraw the application if she chooses, but it still has to go to conservation because wetland is involved.
And
Well,
moving,
really, because the CR. Yeah.
Right, because
Okay.
part of their, part of the thing is on conservation
Conservation.
restricted land.
so do we want
And septic, isn't there an issue with septic?
I believe that has been cleared.
Okay,
Yep. Board of Health looked at it and
said good.
said good.
Okay.
to, Mary, do we want to have Eric do his?
He is next on your agenda.
Right.
Okay, I didn't
You're
know
just-
if you were
you're
ready to
starting
go.
the Zoom meeting so that.
I'm
somebody-
not starting it, he's not here, no, now he's here, but that's okay.
All right.
Please, go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead, Eric.
All right, so monthly report.
Oh, no.
Joining us on
Oh, no.
Zoom.
Mm.
Be on there.
You gotta bring the chair and come up because you're not on camera.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I thought they
Yep.
usually move the camera.
Mhm.
No, I don't want to mess up the cords.
No, you're fine.
Well, we do
We-
have fire here, so in
Yeah.
case of an incident.
Yes, right.
Although we'd rather not have like a workers' comp related incident.
This is true.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll start with the new business. The month of June, department handled 1,080 calls for service, 9 cases involving criminal charges, 21 motor vehicle crashes, which was up a lot from the month before, with nine reported of injuries, 160 motor vehicle stops with 66 citations. So the Comfort Dog, Sergeant Gilchrist has secured a canine kennel from, I believe, the town of Mendon, that he was getting rid of theirs, so that will go into our oldest car, so that saves us thousands in retrofitting a car. Still waiting for the arrival date of the puppy. They're actively breeding him. He's waiting for a chocolate lab, and so we're open October, November. We'll have it.
Are you gonna have a contest to name the puppy?
I think he's
Or
already.
does he come named?
Yeah, I think they come named. So, Officer Ludo has submitted his resignation to us. His last day was actually the 20th this past week. All post paperwork was submitted for officer certifications. Nothing was rejected, so it looks like everything is good. Open full-time position. We did a physical test. There'll be 3 candidates being moved forward for interview the first week of August. The second position was posted this past Monday. ACO, the June sheets will be forwarded once I receive them. When I talked to her last week, she had a medical emergency in the family, and since then her father has passed.
Oh, our condolences.
Right. So, old business, radio antennas. So we went out, did an RFQ, sent it out to 6 companies, 1 responded. We went from $7,000 to $52,000 to install our antennas. So we're trying to work another avenue on that. Just been, working with the radio company, and we're trying to get more input from other companies. The issue we have is the cell infrastructure for cell phone carriers is so huge right now, moving up to 5G, that the workers that we once had, and their workforce is down. They don't have as many companies that are doing it anymore, but they're all concentrating working for cell phone companies right now.
Well, and some of it's still that the ownership of the cell tower changed.
Yeah.
And the new tower owner is only letting us use a limited number of vendors.
Yeah, limited episodes, and we put it out to all the vendors, and
Right.
we only heard back from 1. And it was at 52,000.
Yep.
So, drone vehicle has arrived.
Yay. Not in time for yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So it goes off tomorrow to get lettered. So tomorrow afternoon, you'll see the drone vehicle in the yard. Yeah, so right now we have 1 licensed pilot. 3 of us are taking the online class now. 10 of us went to 7-hour instructional on how to fly them. So we're just trying to do it in increments so we can get it up and running. So yes, we could have desperately used it yesterday.
You had 2 drone companies here yesterday? Or
Yeah,
drone
2
operators?
came, and
Yeah.
then plus we had the air wing.
Yep.
So, and we had 4 canines.
Mhm.
Yep. So, yeah, that was it. It was a relatively quiet month.
So
Nothing
I
extraordinary.
know I spoke with you over the weekend,
Yeah.
and have you all read Facebook as far as how busy these guys were this weekend.
Mhm. Thank
Okay.
you. And thank you.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
Aw.
Oh, I'm okay.
Questions?
I'm okay.
Uh,
You're not okay.
Well, I have never been okay, so that's really not. Hey, so I was reading the paper. I'm sure you know this. For those, it's Shrewsbury Police Academy graduates first class of student officers. So I'm sure you're in the know, but wanted to
Oh,
pass
yeah.
that along.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I pass
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
along to you. I just steal stuff out of papers.
Yeah, the Hudson's on their second academy right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there any possibility that we could get any recruits out of there?
Financially and manpower wise,
No.
it's pretty. It'd be something we can look forward to in the future. Absolutely, it's something we'd love to do. But as of right now, it's pretty time consuming. These academies run 2 weeks, so it's like
You're down an
so it's
officer.
40, 80, 160, 240 hours of pay.
Oof.
That we have to pay the officers to run the classes, plus buy T-shirts and whatnot.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, we can definitely look at what it would cost to run a youth academy.
Very cool. So while I was picking blueberries at Saturday, had a resident come up to me and said, "Hey, I got a question about the tracks." And I said, "Hey, I'm talking to Eric on Monday." So Lyndon Jones and Crosby, they're
Yeah.
horrible.
Yep.
Are they done? Are they coming back? Are they gonna fix them? I mean,
So what you see, like on Linden, there's 4 sets of tracks. The first track and the last track are the new tracks. They're seamless now. There's no more joints. So they're gonna come through again, and they're gonna take up the old track and just move the new track in.
Okay.
So we're not gonna have 4 tracks anymore. It's just gonna be the regular 2 tracks. But yeah, they are out there. We're actually, fire chief and I yesterday walked the tracks, and we're kind of impressed at the new operation they have going on, the seamless tracks. So it looks promising, and they're getting the work done.
so is there any time frame? Because honestly, going over the tracks, you're down to about 0 miles per hour.
Yeah, we have not got a time frame for that.
Okay. All right.
Maybe it'll help people slow down in town.
Yeah, and then you just
At least over the tracks.
At least over the tracks. At least over the tracks. But it is daunting because I know I slow down and I'm always looking in my rearview mirror because I can't tell if the person's going to slow down behind me, but that's okay. Community outreach. I know that you and Chief McQuillan go to the general store on Fridays at 7. Are there any plans to expand that? Because 7 a.m. on a Friday is kind of hard to get to.
Yeah, so we usually try to hit Wednesdays at 19 Carter as well. But we're open. People invite us. That's all we need is invitations to know what's going on.
Okay.
I mean, we'd be even more than happy to host one here at the building.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
We do like a 9 a.m. Is that? Yeah.
9 a.m. I can scoot out. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
7's just a little too early. All right, cool. Awesome. Those were my 3 questions for
Very
Chief
good.
Shatna.
Maybe even evening hours once
Yeah.
in a while.
Maybe
Yeah.
even
After
evening
work.
hours once in a while.
Well, I drink decaf, so I can drink coffee all day.
All right, we can do that.
Yeah.
That can be arranged.
I'm wondering at some point exploring, and this we'd have to work with Kristen, but exploring just regularly hiring officers. That if the number of full-time officers we have, and if they average 3 to 5 years before they move on to someone else, and the amount of time it takes from the moment we have a vacancy to the time they're actually
It'd
in
be
the
1
field
year
doing
from
something.
today for the first position.
Right.
Really?
Based on the academy schedules,
Right.
1 year from today.
And so why exploring maybe, even if you're full,
Yeah.
starting a hiring process, because by the time you've hired, they've gone through the academy and are ready, you'll likely have a vacancy. And worst case, if you don't, we'd have to figure out a contingent select board,
Yeah.
and then you just stop hiring until you're back down to normal or below. But
Yeah.
because I see
We're-
the extra hours we put
Yeah.
on people and other stuff like that when you're down is
It's a Commonwealth-wide issue.
yeah, right.
And, in the past, we always use our part-timers as what I called our farm team.
Right.
And we graduate them up through. As long as they can pass the test and get into the academy, we'll continue to use them as a farm team.
Yep.
But then we have vacancies down there. Now we can't
Right.
rehire there anymore.
Can't
There's-
hire
there's
part-time.
no more part-time academies. There's no
Right.
more
Right.
part-time police anymore. So, we're definitely going to start exploring of adding additional full-timers as well.
Yeah.
To bridge that gap.
And I think we're seeing in the police, what we saw in fire years ago, is that to be a volunteer firefighter, you need to have the exact same training to be a paid firefighter.
Yes.
And so why go through all that trouble to get trained and then just volunteer your time away when someone will pay you for it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we've
And-
seen.
And we're seeing that in the part-time in the
Yeah,
police
and
department.
it's the same thing with the police. We
Yep.
lost police officers
Yep.
to other departments, just like the fire department. You know, the difference is, you know, they have to send a firefighter 1, 2.
Right.
But most departments hire you full-time with firefighter 1, 2.
Right.
You know, where, you know, the part-timers is a little bit harder for them to get into the police work.
Yep.
Because they actually had to go to the police academy as well.
I mean, I think at some point, trying to come to the recognition that as a smaller town, our pay is not going to be necessarily as high as Worcester and other places can go.
Yeah.
And that we're going to be a place where people can start and get a good career. And I'm happy when we can do things like there are ladders where existing officers can be promoted.
Yeah.
But, you know, there'll be more officers than sergeant positions available.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so just to regulate, and fire being the same sort of thing, is that, you know, maybe we need to be in a regular hiring mode.
Yeah.
And worry about the problem of having too many staff and the costs associated with that when we ever get to there. Because I think if we're regularly hiring in both places, it's a while before we get to the point where we're,
Yeah.
quote, overstaffed.
Yeah, you know, we're constantly, you know, talking up the town, and
Yep.
you know, my sells to your quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here, you know, at holidays, you get stuff brought to the station.
Mhm.
You know, you're not bringing people to the station. You know, you know, it's a much different quality of life here than it is in other larger departments. You know, I mean, 28 years here, and
Right.
I've never been forced to work a shift.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go to any larger department, in 28 years, have been forced 280 times.
Right.
So,
Well, I also think that it's our responsibility to make sure that we do what we can
Mhm.
yeah,
to keep people.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's no doubt about that. No doubt about
I mean,
that.
there's lots of things you can do.
Yep, yep. You know, and I think, you know,
You just need
this
to
drone
feel-
unit is
you
going to
need
be a
to
big
feel like-
attraction as
Mhm.
well.
Right.
So,
And not all of those are necessarily salary-related stuff. You know,
Right.
there are things, as you point out, that cost. I think in a smaller department, you probably get exposed to more variety of things you might than a big department. Because a big department, you can be pigeonholed into this one little thing.
Right.
Community policing is easier to do in this town when you know you can be introduced
Mm-hmm.
around, and there's probably 100 residents that would introduce you to 100 other residents.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, like I
wanna
explained
know
to
your life
people, you know,
story.
in Berlin, we're police officers.
Right.
When you go to other towns, you're patrol officers.
Right.
You're limited to patrol.
Right.
There's no, hey, you got this case, keep working it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's patrol, take the initial report, send it off to the detective bureau.
Mhm.
You know, you never get to work it, you never get to see what happens. You know, you show up at a house on a crime, then you stop there. But here, you take it from the beginning and you take it all the way to the end zone. So, and you know, you obviously get a much more rounded career here, and not as many dead end streets. So,
Right.
Hey, question for you on the antennas. I mean, we're gonna be working with Concom on a potential tower on Rattlesnake Hill,
Yeah.
maybe. Would that impact your cost?
zero
Really?
assist to us whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too close to the Coven Road Tower. So, if you're talking Mount Pisgah, we could go to one tower. You know,
Okay.
yeah, because that's actually, if we had an antenna on top of Mount Pisgah, one antenna would probably cover 95% of the town.
There's a conservation restriction on it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
Can't you put it in the back of your car and just like drive up and down Pisgah with it? You know, just saying.
Yeah, so the fire chief and I, part of this federal grant that we're getting, we want to get a communications trailer so we can bridge the gap. We have a portable repeater that we can take with us, and we want to be able to have the trailer that we can actually put the UTV in, the portable repeater, and be able to take that with us. So when we are at Mount Pisgah, we do have our repeater within sight or within a good distance, or no matter where we go, our repeater is going to be with us.
Nice.
So we've already talked about that with the funds from the federal government if we do get them.
Okay. Hey, for the dog, is it just one officer who will handle the dog?
Yeah. For comfort dogs, it's only one officer.
Very
Has to
cool.
live with them, stay with them. Yeah, it's a big commitment.
Dogs are a big
Yeah.
commitment.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a big commitment. It's, weekly training, and we're fortunate. We're using a breeder that has multiple dogs in the area. So all the dogs, all the towns around us, I think it's Maynard, Bolton, Lunenburg, Worcester. There's a whole list of them, but they'll all, every week they'll all get together and train together.
Will the dog get a vest?
Oh, jeez, Peg.
No, I'm saying that there are many police dogs that unfortunately have
So-
to have
Yeah, so.
vests
so yeah, it
because
won't- it
that's
won't
what
be a-
people are
yeah.
going after.
Yeah, it won't be a patrol dog that will come out on scene.
Okay.
But, it'll be a dog that comes in afterwards.
At the very least, it's got to have a scarf, right?
Yeah.
At least
Could
a
you
scarf-
knit something for?
A scarf is at least cheaper than a vest.
You could
Okay.
get something, yeah.
All right, you guys, you can
I'll
work
buy
something.
it.
Yeah.
I'll
Alright.
pay for it.
That's on camera. You heard that.
Yeah.
All right, we're all set.
All right.
Do you want a dog too? Because she's buying, so just saying.
Yeah.
I got one at home for you.
Yeah. So, if the dog is a success, there is money in that account that's been sitting there for decades that we can actually get a second dog as well in the future, so.
But again, that's just
Yeah.
a cool thing. It's
Yeah.
something that the town has never had.
Yeah.
I'm sure, with the elderly and kids and,
Yep.
and whatever else goes on.
Yep.
That's another bonus to
Yep.
come.
Well, like I tell you, market and brand it and make it a success. It's all up to you guys.
Will he get his Facebook page?
It's a good possibility.
Just saying, if you're thinking for marketing to
Yeah.
get the word out, I mean,
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
definitely a good
Cool.
possibility.
awesome. Awesome.
That's
All
all the
right.
questions I had.
Thank
Okay,
you, Eric.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Eric.
And we'll keep on working on the antenna issue, so.
Thanks.
It's
Yeah,
getting,
keep us
It's
posted.
getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
We may have to cave and take the
Oh,
hit,
God.
but,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
I'll
I'll give it
climb
a
up the
couple more
tower
weeks.
and put the antenna.
Yeah.
Good.
Look at me like like it's my personal decision.
And
it.
congratulations again on the promotion of the department.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always good when we can promote someone.
Yeah,
Well
that's
done.
very nice.
Yeah, it was a great process. We used 5 people: Kristen, the fire chief, Sue Theron from personnel, John Annunziato from
Boylston.
Boylston PD, Marshall Tate from Brook Lane, and it wasn't an easy decision for him, but
That's not a bad thing to have rather
Yeah.
than, oh.
yeah, we had 3 spots, we had 3 candidates, so, and that's the one thing the residents said, they were very impressed.
Very good.
Awesome. Well done.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Shatner.
See, I told you.
Okay, it's 7:30, so we're gonna move on to the FY22 audit presentation.
Yeah.
You have to fill me in on how we're doing this.
Do we need to put the
Can
TV
you
back
put-
on now?
This down.
Or over?
Oh, Peg's going
Peg.
the wrong way.
Peg's going the
Yeah,
wrong way.
Peg's good.
Oh, come on.
No,
Make sure
no,
you get
Peg's
Peg
good.
in
Peg's
there.
good in the
That was
corner.
me.
No,
Peg's in the corner. They're all in the corner, but that puts you more center on the television channel.
that's
So
fine. That I'm fine with.
There he is.
All right.
I'm gonna ask all the questions anyway, so
Okay.
Are you?
I don't know if we ask all the questions. It'll be a race between Peg and I to ask more questions about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How's everyone?
We are good.
Good.
Um,
We can hear.
Good. So you can hear me and see me and.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And thank you for setting this up. You saved me about 3 hours of driving.
Oh, good.
With the tunnel locked up,
Mm.
any highway around the area is just completely blocked at this point for the rest of the summer. So thank you for doing this. Hopefully we can do a nice presentation and get all your questions answered. So I'm going to share my screen and bring up the management.
Is that loud enough for you?
Right.
Do you want to do an introduction?
Would you like us to introduce ourselves before you get started?
Yeah. Why don't we do that? Yep.
Okay, I'm Chris Keefe.
I'm Scott Hawkins,
And I'm Peg.
and then, and if you could introduce yourself again, so I can remember.
So I heard 3 introductions. Is that
Yes, Peg
Yes.
is sitting off camera.
okay? So I'm Tony Roselli. I'm the managing partner for Roselli Clark and Associates, and this is the first year we've done the audit for the town of Berlin. You had another audit firm for a number of years, and I guess they got busy because they've been doing a lot of stimulus work with ARPA and COVID and CARES and whatnot. So it became a little more difficult and challenging for them to continue to do the audit. So June had reached out to our firm, who we are familiar with through different conferences and so on. And so we gladly said, yeah, let's work with June and see if we can get this audit done for you guys. So here I am today. We started the audit a little late because of the transition, so we didn't even start the process till probably around April or May. Finished everything up about a month ago, and so we can kind of give you a nice summary. Just want to preface that all the people in town that we worked with were great. It was very efficient. Information was given to us very quickly when we asked for it. Some of it was done remotely, some of it was done at the town hall. Just about everything reconciled, almost to the penny. A very, very nice, clean audit, and I was thrilled to death to have you as a client with such good records. It was a blessing. A lot of what we're seeing these days is towns that are losing their town accountant and are not able to replace them with a qualified person, or they get a part-time person that's retired from a bank or something that's a stopgap measure, and it just doesn't seem to work out. This was really a pleasure to work with, and it was really it was nice to see the end result, which was a very, very, very good audit. So we can get into some of the results now, and I've got the management letter up. I don't know if you've actually had a chance to review the management letter. I think it was sent out as a packet, so we can kind of go over it just to kind of clarify things for you folks and for the public.
Yep. Yeah, highlights are fine as we go through. It did, for me, the management letter feel a little formulaic. There didn't seem to be a lot of stuff that was very specific to the town of Berlin in it.
Okay, yeah, no, we can ask questions, and yeah, some of the informational items is pretty standard, as you said. It is things that are in a lot of the management letters just for informational purposes, so I wanted to put them in the Berlin management letter also. There were the first comment, there were no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. Those are required to be communicated to governance, who's you. There were no matters that rose to that level of significance. So that was happy to report that. Network security, this is just an alert that we put in every single one of our management letters, not just Berlin. It doesn't mean you have vulnerabilities, but it means be vigilant. Train your employees, make sure that you're aware of what's happening. The last thing you want is the headline saying that you're being held under ransom or there's some money being funneled out to some foreign country. And it's very important that your employees are aware not to click on certain links that come in through email and other sorts of phishing schemes that are out there. Yep. So again, that's just a reminder to be vigilant in that process. Fraud mitigation, again, this is again an item that we put in all management letters because it's obvious, but it isn't, because you get these little areas where somebody decides that we're going to steal some money. Whether it's a small amount or a large amount, they come up with some scheme, they try to steal money, and it could have been prevented through some easy reconciliation processes, some effective internal controls, and this relates a lot to the departments that collect cash. Town clerks, building departments, police, fire, permits, things like that, where you collect cash. Just some vigilance over that area. Make sure controls are in place. Make sure that revenues are being turned over timely. The town is doing a very nice job in this area of looking at reconciliations, of looking at revenues from month to month, year to year, to see if there's any funny revenue fluctuations going on. So the town does a good job about this, but again, this is just, like I said, one of our alerts for every town that we audit. Next is investment income, and so a lot of challenges have crept up with the inflation and the different things that are going on in the economy that have forced the Federal Oversight Market Committee to raise the rate on borrowings. By raising the rate on borrowings, they're hoping to stem the tide on inflation. What's happened is as they've raised the rate on borrowings, they've also raised the rates on investments. Those have snuck up. In fact, your treasury yields and some of your CDs are earning 5 to 6% at this point. So this is one of those, the town has a fair amount of cash on hand, and this is one where the town should be looking at what they can do with excess cash. Let's do a forecast. Let's see what our excess cash is each month, what cash comes in, what cash goes out, and what do we have left over at the end of each month, and can we turn that into a revenue-producing asset? So this is something that sometimes escapes towns. You've got a pretty good investment advisor in Bartholomew, so hopefully they've been sending you these alerts as well on earning extra money. And the window's going to be open for a little bit, I think, so it's good to get your money into some of these accounts that can earn a little bit of extra money and help the taxpayer out. Those are the standard items. I've got a few bullets that I just penciled in while I was waiting in the waiting room, which are right below it. So the town has $5.5 million in reserves, and for a town with expenses of around $14 million, that you're in great shape. It's about a 40% reserve ratio. That includes $2.5 million in stabilization plus your free cash, basically, is how you get to the reserve number on the financial statements. In 2022, your revenues exceeded forecast by about $1.2 million, and your expenses, you were able to turn back about $0.8 million. So that increased your reserves even further from 2021 to 2022. Now, one of the things I found was that the last time, unless you've had something recently, the last time you had a bond rating was in 2019, and you got a AA3 from Moody's. And based on what I've looked at, your financial situation and some of your ratios, I think you should be higher than that. And that may happen the next time you have a bond rating. 2019 is now 4 years ago. So hopefully that happens, because your reserve ratio is a Tier 1 reserve ratio. So it's a very, very high in relation to other communities. Standard & Poor looks for about 15%, and you guys are almost triple that amount. So if you did get a bond rating soon, if you were going to do some debt or whatnot, I would expect to see that bond rating trickle up to at least a AA1, AA2 or AA1, because AA3 is, to me, is a trailing rating for a town that's doing as well as Berlin. Any questions on what I've said so far? Those specifically, those 4 or 5 items are specific to Berlin, so I don't know if you want to dig a little deeper on those.
No. Further in the document, in the next document, it talks about the debt levels for the town. And so you also, I think, point out that we have low debt compared to other towns. Yeah, not in this document. It's in the, what is the other?
Larger one.
The actual financial.
Yeah, the actual financial reports. But that our debt is less than what a lot of other towns should have as a percentage. I thought you said we could afford to carry like $38 million, and we're only at $9 million. Not that I want to carry any more
I was just going
debt.
to say, be
By
very
the way.
careful what you just said.
Yes, that is your maximum capacity. So that's
Right.
over here on page. I just pulled up the financial statements. That's on page.
Yeah, sorry, my notes didn't record what
That's
page.
okay. No, I can find it.
It's a
That's on
suggestion only.
page.
Right, but it's a sign to the town that being low on that is good.
Yes, it's very good.
And that we're generally as a town not only in good in shape when it comes to our savings, but we're good at when we have less debt.
Yes.
And that's also good for the taxpayers, because that also has less taxes that are going to interest to bondholders and other things. And so,
Exactly, because if you were to go out to borrow right now, you would probably go through some sort of rate shock because of versus the last time you borrowed, because the rates have gone up quite a bit. The $38.8 million is the amount that you can legally collect or legally be obligated in debt based on a formula that the Department of Revenue uses. And yes, you're significantly lower than that, which means that you're managing. So a lot of your capital is, and this is my first year, so I don't have a trend, but I'm assuming a lot of your capital you're backfilling using some sort of free cash, grants, and some other form of financing other than debt financing. That's what's probably happened. Correct me if I'm not correct in assuming that.
I think the town for generations has really tried to save money to do big purchases and not do debt where we don't need to do debt. I mean, obviously when you're building new school or something, highway barn, something is so big, but when it comes to especially vehicles, we tend to loathe doing debt for vehicles, or even some of the conservation land that we've purchased, we managed to do with grants and savings and not debt.
Well, and that's CPA.
Yeah, now that we have CPA, that even makes it easier to do that, yeah.
Exactly, and that's part of what I pointed to at the beginning of the presentation, that this is a very well managed community. You're not loaded with debt. You have a lot of cash. You have a lot of reserves. You're managing it very nicely, and you've done a really nice job. And like I said, if you've got to build a school, you got no choice. You got to go out and do a big offering to build a school. And you do that in, I believe, Boylston is your counterpart. You do it in combination with Boylston, or you build your own elementary school if that were the case. But yeah, it's like I said, it's been very well managed, and you've built up those reserves, and it seems like you're exactly what you said. You're saving up to get something, whether it's public works equipment, whether it's some police vehicles,
Fire truck.
Fire trucks.
Yeah, fire truck. Things
Fire
you
trucks
can
are
afford.
expensive.
You may have even done a fire truck through a grant, when those were available a few years ago, So I think the town really, when you go through that capital forecast and set it up, I think you really think about it. You don't say, hey, let's just go out and borrow.
Right.
And we'll get the taxpayers to do a Prop 2.5 override, debt exclusion, and which is the easy way out. I think you folks are really looking at it saying, okay, how much free cash can we build up? What can we use to backfill and replace some of our equipment that is getting old, upgrade our technology? And I think you've done a very nice job of balancing that versus the tax rate. So I think that's, like I said, that's a credit to what's going on in town.
On that same page, you talk about that we mostly get from residential taxes. I don't think we need any change in the document at this point, but it really is, our mix of residential commercial is sometimes a concern because we use some of the commercial to subsidize the residential tax rates. And with commercial being sort of sometimes up and sometimes down, it can really hurt some of the taxpayers sometimes. And that type of risk is not mentioned in this at all. It might not be within scope, but since it said residential, I wanted to comment that it's residential commercial. And then in that same way you talk about the tax levy, do you actually have opinions that I sometimes feel that that our total tax levy, since we're only using 73% of it, would allow us potentially to do a massive increase in taxes on folks without needing an override, and whether or not an underride might be something that we look at some point. Is there any, where we get opinions of whether or not that has what the pros and cons, because anything that's great has cons to it as well, of doing something like that?
Well, you've got a lot in reserves, so certainly if you wanted to do some flattening of the taxes year to year, you've got the latitude to do that without it impacting you financially. I typically don't recommend that because I like to keep reserves. When you're building them, if you give them back, it's hard to get them back. So I typically like to leave them alone if I'm managing. But you certainly, if that's a policy decision that you guys are looking at, it's certainly something that wouldn't hurt you as much as some other communities because you're at a 40% reserve ratio. So you're well above, the state average is about 10 to 12%, so you're well above the state average. So it is something that if you, like I said, if you were doing a policy decision and wanted to do a series of tax, lowering taxes, it's something that wouldn't hurt you financially. And you're correct on your residential versus commercial. So your 2.5 is based on your total tax levy, but there is a mix within the tax levy itself that is subject to swings. So sometimes that residential tax will swing up. And like I said, this is my first year with Berlin, so I'm not sure what that swing has been. But certainly, yeah, it is subject to swings between residential and commercial. So you're correct in saying that.
In the liabilities of the town, it looked like our largest liability is unfunded pension mandate. I'm assuming that we're not alone in towns that have unfunded pension stuff, and does our numbers sort of about what other towns are looking at?
Yeah, so let's go to that page.
That was like-
Everyone sees it?
I was trying to find the page so I could
Yeah,
quote the
page
number.
14, you've got a net pension liability of $6.3 million. You're part of Worcester County
Yes.
pension, so you don't really have.
Did he say it?
So if I look at a town like, say the city of Medford or the town of Falmouth or the city of Newton, they all have their own pension. So if they fall behind, they can say, hey, let's increase our funding. We had a bad year with with investments. Let's increase our funding a little bit to catch up. You don't have that. You're at the beck and call of Worcester County pension system. So Worcester County pension system, I believe, has 80, I think it's over 80 members.
Yeah.
So they have to look out for everybody in the system. And Worcester County is one that has trailed in the liability. So let's go to the back here and see if I can find the pension information. So your net pension liability, your net assets as a percentage of your liability, which is on page 36, is 56%. Massachusetts pensions right now, the average is 71%. So Worcester County is 15% behind the average of the other retirement systems. And there's 113 retirement systems in Massachusetts. So that liability, I mean, you just pay your assessment. You get your bill, you pay your assessment. And one thing I'm telling my clients in Worcester County, I've talked to the actuary, and they have told me to expect, because I believe the pension is going to be fully funded by 2035, 12 years. They're telling me to expect a 10% increase per year in your assessment just to catch up for the next several years, unless there's some tremendous market gains. So the town, because of being in Worcester County, is behind a lot of the other state on the pension side. So to answer your question, yeah, you are a little bit behind. Now, what some of my smaller towns like Boxborough and some of the other towns that are in counties, I believe Boxborough is in Middlesex County, Wilmington, I think, is in Middlesex County, they created pension stabilization funds. So they're saying, hey, let's take the matter into our own hands. We'll pay Worcester County what we owe them, what they say we owe them, but we'll also put a little bit aside in our stabilization fund every year, so that when we have these rising assessments, say 5 years from now, it gets to be very large, we can reach into that stabilization fund to stabilize the rate and not have it affect the budget as much. So a lot of my communities are setting up these pension stabilization funds. They call special purpose stabilization funds, and they're beginning to fund them so they don't have to be at the beck and call of the county. So that is an option that you can use to take into your own hands, and you do have, like I said, you have some cash and you have the means, I believe, to do that. Does that kind of give you some color on pension?
Yes. Yes. It gives us some things to think about and potentially process. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad that was helpful. Did you have any other questions specific to the financial statements, liabilities, or assets, cash?
No, you've seen your presentation and the question I've already asked. I'm pretty good at the moment. I have a bigger one that's probably as much for Kristen as more for you, but I'll say it here is that do we have a point person for cybersecurity?
That was one of mine.
We did a couple of years ago. We actually had, we were doing some sort of like classes. They
Yeah, I
were,
remember all those classes out there.
And
but
I don't know if that was through Maya or if that was actually through a private company. I'll have to relook at it.
'Cause, like-
Calvin running those?
He was,
Right.
yeah.
And then
so
it
I
went to
don't-
Margaret.
Yeah,
so I
and
don't
so
know
there
what
might
happened after
not
Margaret.
because like if
I
someone
think it was only for a
found
period of time.
ransomware, like who do they turn? Who's the first person to call? Like what's the
Right now,
what's
it's
like
CM Geeks, but
the
yeah.
crisis plan if something
Yeah.
else sort of got.
Yeah, I actually wrote that down when you guys
uh,
were talking about that.
Sadly, in my universe, many peers have experienced
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
bad
I
stuff.
couldn't quite make out what you were saying, but were you speaking of cybersecurity?
Yeah, just
Yes.
who's the point person here at the agency? So that's why I was sort of more directed
Yeah.
to June and not as much to you because.
Yeah, and if you do go out to borrow,
Yep.
that's going to be a requirement. They
Yeah.
require that you have some sort of cybersecurity in place. And a lot of the towns are doing it through Maya.
Yeah.
Maya has
Probably
that.
makes sense.
Yeah,
That's what it's just. I know that stuff's expensive.
Yeah.
yeah, but
So do
Uh,
It's cheaper than
Then-
then not.
It's cheaper to get
Then
it,
having
and,
everything
and you know,
held. Yeah.
I keep going back to if what is it, Point 32 Healthcare, which is one of the biggest providers in the state, can get hit and out for a month or two, and it's like, what can we do as a small town if something got hit? And then I am believing that over many years, that the only sort of fraud problem we have had that's material really has been by an outside contractor
Outside.
vendor and not an internal place, and
Yep.
which is good to know so far.
We still do. Every time that something should come up or if something's questioned,
Yep.
usually we'll tweak something just to make it so it's a little bit easier to
Yep.
find something if it should come up.
June, I had a question more so for you. There was a comment in the managerial level about the police details.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they so aged?
There are some that, due to state contracts and things, they do take sometimes
Okay.
a very long time to get it. But this past year, we've had a little learning curve going on with the details, and that's something that this year we want to try to hone in on as far as sending out reminders and having a point person possibly taking some of the receivables to court if need be.
Okay. And the bond rating, is that the responsibility of Paul to get that going?
We actually, every year, one of the reasons why we have the audit every year is that we actually do have bond counsel. So I think it's called bond counsel. That we actually have to fill out all the forms, and some of the questions are like security and things like that we actually stay pretty current as far as submitting the town's information to them.
Your town hasn't had an official bond rating though. You've submitted information to bond
Yeah.
council and your I believe it's Hilltop that you use or Unibank, one of those.
I think it's
big bankers.
Unibank that we go with.
Unibank,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but I don't believe you've had a bond rating update.
We
since-
have-
I just looked on the website, and the last
We
one I
haven't
saw was
borrowed.
2019.
That's what
So I think you may want to reach out to Unibank and see if Moody's would do an update of your bond rating, so it's a more recent bond rating and reflects what's been happening in town the last few years. You've really done a very nice job of increasing those reserves and managing the process in town.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, because we haven't gone out for even refinancing, I think, since then. And right now, the only thing we have open is just the highway barn.
Yeah, and sometimes what they'll do, as long as there's a bond issuance out there that's still outstanding that they were involved with, which I believe Moody's was involved with your last one, they can still do like what's called an update, so they can redo the bond rating without having to do a financing. If you do a financing, it happens automatically. You
Yeah.
get a bond rating automatically. So doing a cursory update wouldn't be a bad thing. I think it
Okay.
would. I think you'd be rewarded with a higher rate.
Check with the treasurer.
All right.
So similar to paying off the truck, which we did when Margaret was here, and we used. Are there any things that come to the top of your mind to like pay down giant debt that we have that
We
we could
don't,
get?
just the highway
don't?
barn,
Just
that's
the barn?
all we have, yep, we've been paying cash,
Nice.
Well,
pretty
we
much
have
cash for
Tohoto
everything.
too, right?
Yeah, but Tohonto's not our bonds.
Yeah, we,
Yeah.
Right.
unfortunately, that was one that, yeah, we didn't really have any control over, so it's.
We tried.
through- I know, it's through the
Well,
assessment.
But it's through the assessment, but they still at least did equal principal payments, which generally is lower.
And that was their choice, not
yeah,
ours.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, their choice,
We do
but
it the other way, yeah. Yeah.
We had a couple of people there at the table trying to swing it
Yeah.
for Berlin's point of view,
Right.
but
Yeah.
Which is equal principal.
I believe so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Danny trained me.
Yeah.
Well, it was Richard Sardell that was
Yep.
at the table, and I don't know if
Yeah.
Dennis was there. He
Yeah.
might have been.
Yeah.
So, do we have any other questions for Tony?
No, I thank Tony for doing this. It was sort of me saying this where they're doing. When
Yep.
I asked it to be done, I didn't think there was anything big and material. I just for a taxpayer knows to know that the select board is looking at this and taking it seriously, and to hear that there's such good stuff
Yeah,
out there.
we're doing
That,
great.
that
Good
there's
shape.
independent outside person looking at our books, confirming the things that we believe to be true. So
In
And we
June
wanna-
we trust.
And we
Wow.
want to thank
It's always
June.
good to have a quick
I know,
We want
it's
to
always
thank
good.
backup,
June for all
because
she
if
does too.
Yep.
doing something wrong, I'd like to know about it so
Right,
I can
right,
fix it.
right,
and
right.
That's the big thing. So yeah.
right, we are
that's
human.
good.
We make innocent
Exactly.
mistakes here and there, and
Yep.
to have someone outside catch them is always good.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Tony.
Great, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
I'm glad that was helpful, and stay cool this week. It's going to be a hot one.
Yep.
You too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have a great night.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks.
Too.
All right, thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Yeah.
I don't know if Peggy want to reach over and hit end. Yeah, you could probably just close it too, but the end button and
Down.
I don't know where the mouse is. There we go.
Leave webinar.
Well, end meeting for all.
The red one.
Yeah.
The hell?
There we
So
go.
close.
So close.
So close.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Jane, for help setting this up too.
Hey, no problem.
What
Mary did a great job today.
Yeah.
What struck me in this letter is that 52% of the budget goes for school and 23% goes for public safety. So
Right.
3/4 of our
Right.
budget are on
Two items, yep.
items.
Right, and when so people talk about where to cut, you could cut everything else out and
Makes
you
zero
know,
impact.
especially if the schools go up by 20%.
Correct.
You could cut everything else out and still have an increase.
Yeah.
There are a lot of towns in a lot worse, not worse shape.
Well,
but
Yeah,
I mean, they
Dudley.
spend up in 60%.
oh yeah, and
on their
ones that are
schools.
seeing those same increases were already at tax limits to do it, and
Yeah.
or laying off teachers and
Teachers
going to
and- yep.
30 and 35 and 40-person classrooms, which luckily
Right.
we've not had to do in this town. So, and it really is, the town has been relatively fiscally conservative about debt and other stuff for generations, which is
And wheels
good.
and
And I have to say
lots
that
of different
Sometimes
things.
sometimes maybe penny foolish, but
Yes.
having capital planning too I think has helped out a lot as
Yeah.
far as everybody really focusing on what we know the expenses are going to be and planning for it accordingly. And I think that's what's made it a little bit
Yeah.
easier to fund things.
All right. June, do you want to touch on a couple of the items in the town administrator report?
No.
I don't know if any, well, I didn't know if you
I
had
just
any
asked.
questions. I don't know a lot about some of these, but as far as.
Or maybe if they have,
Did you have any questions? Did you look through the TA's report? I can try to answer them if you have some.
oh geez, here we go. I'm going to limit you.
No, you can't limit me. You
Oh,
cannot
okay,
limit me.
I
All
can
right.
do that.
She has the gavel.
Yeah, I got the gavel.
we tend not to. So yeah.
Go ahead.
Go.
You want to
Go,
match?
go, go, go,
All right.
go.
So on the Verizon cell tower, did we confirm that it's August 28th that Verizon Man is coming here?
I don't
Yeah.
know
Don't know.
that.
I saw an email today.
Yeah, I thought it was an email today that updated the agenda.
Okay.
I'm not positive. I think we were looking at something from town council first.
Yep, right now it's, she's talked to town council to issue a formal legal opinion regarding the site.
Yes,
Okay.
and see what they have to say and if this is going to work for us.
$1 million.
Okay. We'll wait on Stephanie, so our web designer person. do you have any idea when she might be submitting a proposal, or is that more like a Kristen, August
That's a
28th?
Kristen.
Okay, all right, so what, August 28th?
Well, or you
Or
can, you
14.
can always call
Yeah.
her.
Yeah,
No.
she'll be back on
Yeah,
Thursday.
she's back on
so you
Thursday.
Definitely, like,
Yeah.
send her an email.
So I was very saddened looking on the TA report where there were 16 potential responses for the building assessment and only one came back. Do you have any idea why 15 bailed? They just,
No, they came in, there was 15 of them, and I thought the way Kristen was talking, they seemed to be responsive to coming in and getting them, but she only
This
got the
was for
back.
which one?
the building assessment.
Yeah,
Remember how she
facilities
said that
assessment.
there were 16 and only, and I was like psyched to
Oh, and
spend
you're
an
on that
entire
group,
weekend.
aren't you?
Yeah, so
And
when
I
I
ha-
saw one, I was very sad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
she will
I
be
mean-
sending out a rating based on what was
Yeah, whatever
submitted, but-
sheets, yeah.
But are you? Are they? Have you seen the information?
No, I haven't
from-
seen it, no, I
Okay,
haven't seen
okay.
anything
So
yet.
she hasn't sent that to you.
No,
So I was going to say because that could explain it. Maybe we don't have the right information out there or something.
yeah, I don't know.
First, we talked briefly about it on Friday after they had come in, and a lot of them did bigger communities.
Yeah,
So I don't know if Berlin is just so small that maybe they didn't.
well, that's what I was wondering, unfortunately, where
Yeah.
Berlin is so small, sometimes we kinda get left behind, and it's not like we have an abundant amount of buildings, you know, that they were potentially looking at, I mean, less than 10,
Yeah.
spread out throughout the town, so
Yeah.
it's like, over here, and over there,
Yeah.
right. Do you have any update on Maplewood, has the cease and that thing?
Desist.
Yeah, has that been lifted?
Enforcement order.
Thank you. This is why you're here. Has that been
Well,
lifted?
that's actually not why I'm here. but,
Well, we
happy to
appreciate you
help.
being here, so, you know, I'm gonna lean on you. Is that still going? Has it been lifted?
Which one?
Well,
The one-
where it got like shut down after the massive rains with the pictures of the blue buckets coming down the hill.
Right, so, the Conservation Commission has had an open enforcement order since 2 years ago when all of that happened. There has been a mitigation plan filed with DEP and shared with us. And they are doing the work and, they're in good shape.
So is there soil going back up?
Don't
Back up the hill?
there was.
Well, is
there
it
were
being,
some-
is it being brought in? Is it going back
Right.
up Barnes
Well,
Hill?
that's interesting, because
Oh.
there were a bunch of emails last
She
week.
sent something out.
I don't know, I didn't see them.
Oh, lucky you. I think there were a bunch of emails last week about some stuff, like 3 different sources being approved.
Okay,
So,
all right.
Yeah, but the trucking is that.
right, yeah, DEP does that part, and they don't
Okay, good.
always share with
Yeah,
us
then-
what the status is.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the reason why I ask is that I know that Kristen, you know, we had started talking to DOT about doing some sort of like traffic counting trucks. So I would hate for them to be like sitting on the route and going, well, there's no trucks.
Right.
You know, or
Right.
there's like one truck going up the road when it's because they're stopped.
Right. I have not heard specifically one way or another.
Okay.
I would imagine that
I haven't
DEP
heard that
would have shared.
they've allowed it to start again specifically, so.
Okay. All right. Actually, you know what? That was it.
Oh, I was thinking you were gonna give me an easy one that I could actually answer.
Have we received the ADA money yet?
Yes, we did.
There we go.
There we go.
There you go.
And we're actually looking into next year's already.
Well, next year should be easier because we already have how much it costs for a door, how
Yep.
much it costs for a sink, and
Yep.
here's all the justification, and we can just.
Thank you, I can answer that. That's good. I feel better now.
Thank you, Jim.
Do you have any update on the assessor finding a new one?
As of right now, the Board of Assessors are in the process of reviewing the candidates. And Molly's last day officially was July 20th.
Right.
So she is officially retired.
Huh.
We want to wish her the best in her retirement.
Mhm.
But we did do an interview of one
You guys
candidate,
missed a
so
good pizza party.
I think the
Yeah.
assessors are.
I did happen to be at brunch on Sunday with a retired assessor, who I could not convince to come
Come
out of
over, just
retirement.
Unretired.
just for fun.
He's really, really into retirement. But he, one, only had
Wanted a
great things to
challenge.
say about Molly, but said that everything he hears that Berlin is still is a town worthy of working for and.
Nice.
And is nice, which
Nice.
should help with the applicants and getting folks.
Yeah.
It's always nice to hear from, random outside folks that
I
that the
know,
town
it
has
is.
still a decent reputation.
See,
Right.
so that's all I had for you. Easy
And
peasy.
they were here today working on the roof, that's why we have all the flags up there.
Yep.
I saw
Yeah.
that.
I saw
wondered
Pulled
if
in
we
this
were having
morning
a
and-
party, and then
I
I'm
was
like,
gonna say-
oh, it's probably to
Gonna say.
keep people from falling off.
I thought it was Christmas lights or something.
See,
That was
I
a
thought-
permanent change just to make the building look more
Right?
festive.
There we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they did come through. Did they sandblast a couple weeks ago? Like around the
They actually cleaned up all of the fascia, is that what it is?
facade, whatever it is?
Facade, yeah,
Yep.
they did
Yep.
all of that. They were here all last week, I think.
Were they sandblasting it? I just saw some guy with
I was gonna say, I think
sandpaper.
it was by hand, I think.
Yes. it
Whitewashed?
was- Yeah.
He was, yeah.
And then he
Okay.
was
Plastering and,
filling in stuff that had fallen off and.
yeah.
Well, we needed that to happen because, yeah, okay. All right.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, so we're gonna move on to new business. And the town administrator would like to appoint or have us appoint the following insurance advisory committee members.
I think she actually did the appointment, notice that,
Oh, she did do the
Yep.
appointment, so we don't need to
She was
vote.
going to
This is-
appoint.
Right.
All
The
right.
Insurance Advisory Committee.
Alrighty.
Because Molly was originally the employee, so now Maureen has decided that she volunteered to do that.
Good.
Okay.
And Molly is gonna stay on as a retiree representative.
Now, I have a question for you, June.
Yes.
If you know it or not, I don't know. There's still one vacancy on the IAC. And so do we know what kind of a representative we need?
If you hadn't asked me, I think I could have told you, and now I don't remember who it is, but I'll look into that.
Well, I mean, there isn't anybody in,
I think originally we
eighth-
didn't have the retiree. Oh, no, you were.
No?
You weren't on it. So I think it was
I
we
think I
didn't
was just
have
attending
actually.
to attend. I'm
think
the
we-
liaison.
Yeah, we didn't have an actual retiree.
Now we do.
Now we do.
But we still have, there's 8 positions that need filled. And it says something like in
Oh, I
her
think
list,
there was one with
to be
fire.
determined.
I don't think we had a fire person.
Oh, I thought we,
Did we,
John
John?
Paulino,
Did he
yeah.
volunteer? I'll ask
I
her.
I
think
think
he
we
did.
appointed him just not too long ago. But I just didn't
Vacant
know if you
is-
knew.
Oh, on the website, the vacant is a town government retiree, which we just filled.
Yeah.
But there's supposed to be 8 according to the general law.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Dave
Oh.
Goulding, Richard Hanks,
And now that Mr.
Bob
Hanks is
Hodges,
staying.
John Polino.
Yep, so we need a
June.
replacement for Bob.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
Who's
the
in a play-
replacement, I think, for Bob was Maureen.
Right, so the replacement for Hank, unless Hank, because he's staying on, is
He's staying on
ICE.
NDE, yes, he is.
No, you know, you should look at the,
Molly Reed is moving from employee to retiree, and
Yeah.
so if Maureen is replacing
you should
Molly.
look at the Google Drive, the one that, that's the one that Kristen wrote, the to be determined
Oh,
in the 8th position,
I'm just looking at the town website.
yeah.
The law does say 8,
Yeah, and there's 8 on the town website.
but
But
there's not.
is it-
Bob
maybe
Hodges.
it's just a
Bob
person.
Hodgins, I think
Maybe
there's
it's
another.
just a
employ-
person at large.
It
I think
is.
it's,
Okay, so
right.
that's anybody we want, correct?
Anybody that would volunteer to do it.
Right, we can get to do it. All right.
Don't even.
No.
It was worth a shot.
Can you bring a tower?
I appreciate it, but.
I saw that, look down quick, yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
I'm like, oh, boom.
You can just
That's what
bring the
happens when you're
tower.
one person in the
Right.
audience.
Right. Like, she's got me looking back there.
All right, so
I've
we'll
got
figure it
3.
out.
I'll-
I just
I'll
didn't know
ask
if
her.
you knew.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
You could do dual duty. You could record the meeting and be a member at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
He's not paying attention.
He's not at all.
Yes, yes.
Nope, not at all.
All right, so there we go. There we have it. That's our notice.
Yes.
Notice of appointment, we did the Timothy Andre, our
Yep.
police sergeant.
Yep.
And now we've got the purchase and sale and access agreement for 72 Carter Street.
Mhm.
And now we know why you're here.
Yes.
As much as I enjoy all of you.
So I just have my quick little spiel. It's not much, but right now, what they're looking for from us is to sign the purchase and sales agreement, which is here. There's 2 copies. And the reasoning behind that is so that we can actively work on preparing the deed. Right now, their closing is scheduled for August 31st. And we do have the $125,000 available from CPA funds. And
Would you like a pen? Oh, there they are.
We
That's all
are,
right.
we are actually currently still working on the access agreement for the road that's going through that.
It's actually the easement.
Okay.
Yeah, easement agreement. And the reason we're being asked to sign the PNS so far ahead is the property has gone through probate. And in order to sell the property, they need permission from the probate court. So once you guys sign this, the lawyers will do their lawyer things, and the seller's lawyer will get permission so that everything can happen in a timely fashion for the end of August. But it's gonna take some time.
Mhm.
Now, if I had to give the introduction to this item, I wrote in my little agenda, this vote is to continue, so we can continue with the process.
Right.
Correct.
There we
Right.
go.
you go.
And this is following up because there was a town meeting vote that sort of allowed this whole
Yes.
process to get started. I would entertain a motion
Yeah.
to execute the purchase and sales and access agreements for 72 Carter Street.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't have other questions. This looks like it looked like when it was presented at town meeting and passed, so.
And
Nice.
CPA has no questions, all good, or
So
conservation
speaking
has no
of-
questions?
No,
I just wanted to throw
oh.
one more thing out, is that, in case you asked, the phase 1,
Oh, right.
yeah, the phase 1, is it the access?
Environmental study.
Study came back clean,
Yeah.
Right.
just in
All right.
case.
Yes.
I did have that here too.
Any information we can get. We
That
appreciate
was
it.
strictly the lawyers too, because anybody who knows the property
Right.
knows, but, because we weren't doing an appraisal or there were a whole bunch of other things that town council was like, well, do you want this and do you want that? And so we settled on the phase 1 environmental study, just
Right.
to make sure. We paid a lot of money for 236 pages worth of information that says the property's clean.
Good.
So there's no
So-
like
Right.
endangered horned cricket
There's
something,
no
No.
kerosene distilling.
moonshine
No.
up there.
No bunkers
That would
with
be
potentially
fun.
radioactive
Right.
material in it. And what a weird
No,
thing to
that's on
find.
the other part of town.
I know, I was gonna say, what
Yeah.
other things we have found in town?
Yeah, right.
Do you want this
Yep.
back?
I remember the
Yes,
40
please.
Caves one, the mink farm kept coming out.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that was a use
Yep.
at one point. But yes.
All right, so we did have a motion
Yep.
and a second on the table.
Mhm.
We'll go ahead and vote then. It's all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you for everything in terms of Concom stuff that you do and planning board stuff that you do and CPA stuff that you do to get this through, so appreciate it.
You're welcome. I find the two actually complement each other a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
you're kind of working sometimes nearly on the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep, and it's helpful to have information from one at another,
right.
or input,
You could be the
From one
liaison
to the
to each
other.
group.
right? Kinda am anyway,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Right.
yeah. There was actually one meeting recently where Tom Sanford was like, we're talking about a lot of conservation stuff tonight.
Yeah,
But you need to, you don't want to get caught in the end. You know, there's
Well,
been
it-
too many, whoops,
Right.
so.
Yes. Yes.
So this will keep
I-
you busy too, right?
Yeah. It certainly does.
Just having
yeah.
Kristen be gone one day so far, and I think, you know, I was talking with you, you were talking with me. I think I had to field a couple of other things,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
it's never ending.
yeah.
Yeah, I know how many emails her and I have been exchanging just about
Right.
72 Carter Street.
Yes.
And I can't even imagine her inbox.
And I think she gets down to close to zero sometimes.
Yeah.
God love her.
Yeah. I think I have 983 right now unread.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not that good. I have 81 unread.
81.
11.
But that's like all my emails.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
not,
Right.
Oh, yeah, not just down. Yeah.
no, it's not just town.
Target and Old Navy. And
Right.
Those are easy to fix, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You can create rules.
Unless there's a
Exactly.
sale, and then, you
Oh.
know.
Then you might have to spend a little time on it.
Can't.
Okay, well, here you can stick around for this one too. The reappointment of alternate Central Mass Regional Planning Commission.
Jay was here.
CMRPC representative Jay Teach,
Yep. I would make such a motion.
and we're all set. He's okay with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's Bennett, right?
Yeah.
Right.
This is a
Yeah.
reappointment.
I was
Yes.
gonna say if he came in till like, he didn't stay long enough.
That's right, he did, yep.
No.
Should have stayed.
All right,
I'll
so
second it.
okay, and all in favor, say aye.
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 And board questions on agendas and liaison updates.
I'm good.
Peg?
I have one, actually, I only have two. Concom, thank you. There'll be a recognition for Judy Christensen. There'll be a plaque placed on the bench. So it's on Pleasant Street. So Jane Sawyer Garden is there, and Pleasant Street, and Conservation is right there. There's a bench. So on August 12th at 10 a.m., the plaque will be permanently nailed to the bench in recognition of Judy. You guys did an awesome job with the wording. So again, thank
We
you.
worked hard on that.
Yep, that brought a tear to my eye, so I'm not going to repeat it because, well, you know,
Okay.
those things happen. And I was at the reading event this past Friday, so a giant shout out to Kyle Burns from Link for putting that together. There were a handful of parents. The kids were awesome. I read, Sarah the librarian read, John the principal read. So it was, even though Mother Nature decided to have a little bit of a fit during it and thunder and lightning, it'll be again in August. So thank you, Kyle, for the invite. Appreciate it. And I'll be back in August. That was it.
All right.
I'm all set.
Okay. I went to ZBA on July 12th. They had the hearing for Bigelow Road. The number of required parking spaces is 371. I don't know if I'm reading my notes right. 371 with 164 spaces to be built. Did they come to?
Ooh, I know all about this one too.
And-
Planning and conservation.
So I know they're all set. They got their 3 variances approved.
Oh, wonderful.
And the May 29th site plan approved, and the hearing is closed. The next hearing they had was the Hearst House. The variance was approved, with the setback only being 5 feet from the neighbor. Then they did their election of officers. The chair still remains Lynn Ryan, the vice chair is Jim Royer, and the clerk is Denny Bartlett. And the next meeting is August 9th. That's it. So is there anything else?
I don't have anything.
Nope.
Good.
We're good.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And seconded.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.